was the kind of heat that crushed bones, the kind that cooked flesh, the kind that even machines could not survive for long. Captain Zoln of the 7th Drazari War Legion stepped down from the dropship and felt pain the moment his boots hit the sand. The sand was glowing red in places. His armored suit beeped, trying to cool his body. The system was already overheating. "We have landed," he said, his voice dry and tight. "Stay alert, move fast, we get the core and we leave." Behind him, 9 elite Drazari soldiers followed. They were tall, armored, strong, trained for every kind of battle. But none of them had trained for this planet. Planet K-92 was a dead world. No rivers, no clouds, just wind, dust, and heat. But buried under the surface was an ancient energy core, still alive. Their mission was simple: recover the core before the enemy did. But even simple missions can turn into nightmares. "One," soldier screamed. It was Zarn, the youngest of the squad. He had fallen to his knees, clutching his arm. His armor had cracked from the heat. Skin peeled off. Blisters bubbled. Another soldier ran to help, but the heat from the sand had melted part of his boot. Zoln cursed. "Keep moving. Stay on the rock path." There wasn't much of a path, just a thin line of black stone leading toward the hills. The sand all around looked like lava, glowing and shifting. The sun above had no mercy. It was 3 times larger than their own sun back home. They were trained to fight, but they were not ready to burn. The squad moved quickly, their steps careful. The air shimmered, their vision blurred. Even the air smelled like fire. Then they saw something strange, a figure far ahead, past the hills, not wearing armor, not running, not melting. "Walking, Commander," said Rek, the heavy gunner. "Do you see that?" Zoln zoomed in with his helmet lens. "I see it." It was a human, a woman, standing alone on the sand. She wasn't wearing a helmet or suit, just a long cloth wrapped around her body like a robe. Her skin was dark from the sun, but her face looked calm. Her hair flowed like black fire, and she was barefoot. "No one should be alive out here," said Rek. "It's a trick." "She's not even sweating," whispered someone. The team slowed down. Eyes wide, hearts beating faster, they watched her. She wasn't moving toward them. She wasn't afraid. She just stood there, as if she belonged to this land. As if the heat didn't dare touch her. Then she did something simple, but it made their blood freeze. She smiled, not a cruel smile, not a fake one, just a quiet, calm smile. And then she took a step forward, barefoot, on the burning sand. She didn't scream, didn't flinch, didn't even blink, and everywhere she walked, the sand beneath her feet turned grey, cooled. It stopped glowing. "What is this?" Zoln muttered. "Is this a weapon? A heat shield?" "No tech can do that," Rek replied. "And she's not carrying anything." The soldiers stood frozen. The wind blew hot air in their faces, but they couldn't look away. This human, this thing, she didn't make sense. Then she stopped again, stared at them, and slowly breathed out. It was soft, gentle, like wind through leaves. But the air changed. The heat around her faded. The red sand turned dark grey in a wide circle around her. The sky above her head dimmed, just a little. It was as if her breath had told the sun to back off, and it listened. "She's controlling the heat," whispered Zarn, still shaking. Zoln didn't speak. His mind raced. Was she a mutant? A guardian of this world? Some kind of forgotten weapon? One thing was clear, without her they wouldn't last another hour. "She's walking again," someone said. She was coming toward them now. Slowly, peacefully. Not fast, not aggressive, just walking. The sand cooled behind her. Her breath seemed to lower the air temperature. And the soldiers? They began stepping onto the grey sand she left behind. It was cold, Safe. It felt like standing on stone at night. She's making a path, said Vrek. For us? Asked Zahn. Or to lead us into a trap, someone replied. Then we follow with weapons ready, Zoln ordered. But we follow. They walked after her. She didn't speak, didn't turn her head, just walked calmly, her bare feet touching sand that should have been hotter than fire. As they followed, their suits cooled, their bodies relaxed, the wind no longer felt deadly. Zarn whispered, "She saved me. I was dying. Now I can breathe." They walked for half an hour. Then she stopped again, turned around, and for the first time she spoke. Her voice was soft and slow, her words clear. "If you want to live, stop looking for the core." The soldiers froze. "What did she say?" asked one. Soln stepped forward. "Who are you?" She looked at him with calm eyes. "The planet listens to breath, not machines." Soln frowned. "What does that mean?" She didn't answer, just looked at the ground. Then she knelt and placed her hand on the sand. And the earth responded. A low hum began under their feet. The sand shifted, cracks opened, and cool air rose from below. The surface cooled even more. One of the soldiers dropped to his knees, gasping. The air felt like a mountain spring. How is she doing this?" someone asked. Vrek said, "I think she's part of this world." "No," said Joln. "She's something older." The woman stood, looked at them again. Her eyes were sad. "You burn everything you touch," she said quietly. "But you still chase more." She turned her back again, began walking. This time no one hesitated. They followed. Soon the land changed. The hills opened to reveal a deep canyon. Red rocks stood like teeth. Steam rose from cracks in the ground. The human walked to the edge and stopped. Below, deep inside, the canyon, they saw it. The core, glowing blue, alive, pulsing like a heartbeat. It was what they came for, but it was surrounded by rivers of fire. Lava flowed around it in thick streams. Smoke curled into the air. It was too hot even to look at. For long. "We can't reach it," said Vrek. "No craft can land there," said another. "Not even drones." Zoln stepped forward. "Can you cool it?" he asked the human. She didn't look at him. She just whispered, "You want the heart of the world, but you never asked if it wanted you." Then she raised her arms, and for the second time, she breathed out, not a simple breath. It was long, deep, the kind of breath that moves trees, that carries thunder, that speaks to stone. The air around them dropped. The lava slowed. The fire turned dark. The canyon went silent. And the core, it stopped glowing, not dead, just quiet, as if it had fallen asleep. Zoln stared in awe. His mouth was dry. This wasn't tech. This wasn't science. This was something else. The woman turned. Her face looked tired. "You can leave now." Zoln took a step forward. "Who are you?" She looked him in the eye. A reminder. And then, without a sound, she disappeared. The sand where she stood was cool. The canyon stayed calm. But the soldiers knew they had seen something that should not exist, something that didn't just survive the heat, but commanded it. After the human woman disappeared, the soldiers waited. They thought maybe she would come back. Maybe the cold air she brought would stay. But the quiet didn't last. The moment she vanished, the ground began to warm again. The lava rivers in the canyon bubbled. The air thickened. The sky turned orange and the wind screamed. Captain Zoln stood at the edge of the canyon staring down at the sleeping energy core. It no longer glowed. It looked calm, like a heart that had stopped beating but was not dead. He turned to his soldiers. "Prepare the extraction plan. We take the core before it wakes." Vrek, the heavy gunner, looked unsure. Sir, I don't think we should touch it. Zoln narrowed his eyes. Why? Vrek pointed at the sand. Because the moment she left, the heat came back. This planet doesn't want us here. She said not to touch the core, Zarn added quietly. She warned us. She's gone, Zoln replied. She was useful, but now she's nothing. We finished the mission. He activated his comms. Deploy the drill bots. Tiny machines flew from their ship. They buzzed through the air and dropped into the canyon. They began to dig into the stone around the core. Sparks flew, steam hissed. The machines beeped, calculating how to safely extract the core without overheating. But then something strange happened. The drills stopped. They froze in place. One by one, the machines melted. No explosion, no sound, just silent failure. Like the planet itself had told them no. System malfunction, said one soldier. No, Vrek replied. This place is alive. Zoln clenched his fists. Enough fear. We'll go down ourselves. Manual extraction. He turned to the group. Gear up. Full heat suits. Oxygen tanks. We're not leaving empty-handed. The soldiers moved quickly. They put on heavier gear, powered suits built for volcanic zones. Their faces were red with sweat, but they didn't complain. Orders were orders. They descended into the canyon. The heat grew worse with every step. Their boots sank into soft rock. One soldier coughed, another slipped. Zahn, still weak from before, stumbled and fell. Zoln growled, "Stay on your feet." Zahn tried to stand, but then, he screamed. A wave of heat exploded from the rocks below. His suit caught fire from the inside. He ripped off his helmet, gasping for air. His eyes rolled back. He collapsed. "Zarn!" someone shouted. Vrek ran forward, grabbing Zarn's body. His skin was red and blistered. He was barely breathing. "Pull him back!" Zoln shouted. "We're not losing another one." They pulled Zarn to a cooler area near a stone wall. The medbot tried to help, but the heat fried its circuits. Zarn's breathing slowed. His hands trembled. His lips turned blue. "We're losing him," whispered Vrek. Everyone looked at Zoln. "Do something," shouted one soldier. Zoln stepped back. His own suit was overheating. His vision was going blurry. He looked up at the cliff above them. And there, she stood again. The human. She was back. Still barefoot. Still calm. She walked along the canyon wall as if the heat didn't matter. Her long robe flowed behind her like smoke. "How is she alive?" whispered a soldier. "She disappeared," Vrek said. "I saw it with my own eyes." "She came back," another said. "For him?" The woman walked to the edge of the ledge and looked down at them. Her eyes rested on Zarn's broken body, then she did it again. She exhaled. One deep breath. It rolled through the canyon like a cold wind, and everything changed. The air around Zarn turned cool. His skin stopped burning. His breathing steadied. The blisters faded slightly. Even the lava near them slowed, turning from bright orange to dull red. "Impossible," Zoln whispered. She jumped down into the canyon, no sound, no fear. She landed beside Zarn, knelt next to him, and touched his forehead with her fingers. She looked up at Zoln. "He doesn't belong here," she said softly. "None of you do." Zoln stepped forward. "You could have let him die." She nodded slowly. "Yes." "Why didn't you?" She looked down at Zarn. "Because he still listens. You do not." Zoln's voice grew sharp. "We came for the energy core. We won't leave without it." Her eyes turned colder. "If you take it, the planet will burn everything." "We'll survive," Zoln said. "No," she replied. "You won't." Zoln aimed his weapon at her. She didn't flinch. "You're not normal," he said. "You're not just a human. What are you?" She looked at the rocks. Once, I was like you. But then I listened. Listened to what? She pointed to the ground. To the breath under the surface. The team stood in silence. The air was still. Then the ground shook. A deep rumble echoed through the canyon. Cracks appeared in the stone. The core began to pulse again. Blue light growing brighter. The lava flowed faster. The planet was waking up. "What did you do?" shouted Zoln. "I did nothing," she said. "The planet hears your greed." She looked at Zarn one last time. He must choose. Zarn opened his eyes. His voice was weak. "Choose what?" "To breathe with the planet," she whispered, "or die with your kind." Then she stood up, walked away again, and disappeared into the canyon wall, just like before. The rumbling grew stronger. The canyon shook. The soldiers panicked. "What now, Captain?" "We hold position," Zoln yelled. "We take the core." "Now." "But Zarn, he's a soldier. He knows the cost." Rex stepped in front of Zoln. "No, I won't let him die." Zoln raised his gun. "Move." Vreek raised his own. "She saved him. She's not our enemy." "This is mutiny." "No," Vreck said. "This is survival." For a moment, everything froze. Guns aimed, soldiers waiting. Then the ground opened. A giant breath of cold air burst. From below, it knocked everyone off their feet, but instead of fire, it brought ice. The lava turned to stone, the canyon cooled, the light from the core dimmed again, and then a voice echoed in their minds. It wasn't hers. It wasn't human. It was the planet, and it whispered, "Leave." The soldiers ran. No one gave the order. They just ran. Back up the canyon, back to their ship. Zarn, now walking again, looked back one last time. She was there, watching. He raised a hand to her. She nodded, then turned, and walked deeper into the earth. Back on the ship, the crew sat in silence. No one cheered. No one laughed. Zoln sat in the corner, staring at the floor. Zarn finally spoke. "She wasn't just a person." "No," said Rek. "She was the breath of this world," Zarn asked. "What happens if someone else comes for the core?" Rek looked out the window. "Then I hope she's still here, to breathe again." The Drazari soldiers were gone. Their ship had left the surface of planet K-92 hours ago. They didn't speak much after escaping the canyon. Some of them cried. Others stared at their hands, trying to understand what had happened. But deep in the desert, the story was not over. Another ship was landing. It was not Drazari. It was from the Tolari Union, a powerful alien empire known for one thing, taking what they wanted. The Tolari ship was big, black, and shaped like a claw. It landed hard, kicking up dust storms that spun like angry ghosts. The sand screamed as metal feet crushed it. Out walked 10 Tolari engineers, short, thick-bodied aliens with green skin and glowing red eyes. They wore cooling armor with thick helmets and metal gloves. Each one carried heavy tools, scanners, and gear. Behind them walked one figure, taller, thinner, wearing no helmet, Commander Yask. He was known across 4 galaxies. Ruthless, cold, smart. He looked at the desert and smiled. Finally, he said, "The energy core sleeps again, perfect for extraction." His second-in-command, a fat engineer named Kulb, checked the scanner. No other life signs, no heat traps, no enemy signals. The Drazari were here, but they left in a hurry. "Cowards," Yask said. "They gave up too fast." Kulb hesitated. "Sir, the logs say a human was spotted near the core. She stopped the heat, walked barefoot." Yask laughed. "A story for children." "No, sir. Their captain logged it before he left. She breathed and cooled lava." Yask stepped closer, eyes sharp. "You believe that?" "I don't know what to believe anymore," Kulb said. "Good," said Yask. "Then stop thinking. Start working." The team moved across the desert toward the canyon. Machines rolled beside them, drones with wheels, legs, and wings. They scanned the sand, measured the heat, and searched for the energy core. But something was wrong. The machines started breaking down, one by one. Motors locked, wires snapped, lights died, even the backup power units failed. "It's the sand," one engineer shouted. "It's attacking the metal." "Nonsense," Yask barked. "It's just heat damage." But it wasn't. The sand around the machines had changed. It sparkled dark red, as if full of tiny sharp crystals. It stuck to the metal like glue, melting wires and cracking screens. "We need to stop," Kulb shouted. "Something's wrong with the ground." "No," said Yask. "The energy core is near. We push forward." They reached the edge of the canyon by nightfall. The moon was blood red. The wind was colder now, but sharp. Like knives, Yask looked down and saw it. The energy core, still sleeping, still pulsing. He smiled. "It's still ours." Kulb opened the extraction kit. The drills activated, hovering in the air. Their long arms reached out, ready to dig, but just before the first drill touched the stone, the wind stopped. Everything went quiet, and from behind a tall rock, a figure stepped out. Barefoot, wearing a long robe, her hair black like the sky, her skin glowing faintly in the moonlight. "She's here," Kulb whispered. "The human." She didn't look angry. She looked sad. Yask stared. "You again? You think you can stop us too?" She didn't reply. Instead, she looked at the broken machines behind them, the ones the desert had eaten. She walked toward them. "Stop her," Yask shouted. But no one moved. She reached the nearest machine. It was sparking, dying. She bent down, placed her hand on it, and breathed out, soft, gentle, like before. The machine stopped shaking. The sparks faded. Then it turned back on. Full power. The screen glowed bright blue. The arms moved smoothly. The sensors lit up. "Impossible," Kulb said. "She fixed it." The other machines started glowing too, one after another. She hadn't even touched them, just breathed. And the machines obeyed. She turned to them now. Her eyes were calm, but firm. "This world is not broken," she said softly. "It just doesn't trust you," Yask growled. "You fixed the machines. Why? To help us?" "No," she replied. "To give you a chance." "A chance for what?" "To leave," she said. "With your lives." Yask laughed. Loud, mean. "You think you scare me? You're just a girl with magic breath." He lifted his blaster and aimed it at her chest. "If you really cared about us, you'd stop the planet from killing us." She looked into his eyes and said nothing. Yask fired. A bright blue beam. It shot straight toward her heart, but before it could touch her, she exhaled. One breath, and the beam stopped in midair. It froze, like ice, then broke into tiny blue snowflakes. They fell gently to the sand. No one spoke, not even Yask. The human looked at him and said only one word. "Go." Yask's hands shook. He looked at the canyon, then at the machines, then back at her. His pride was burning, but his fear was louder. "Fall. Back," he ordered. Kulb blinked. "Sir?" "We're done here," Yask said. "Tell command the core is guarded." Kulb nodded. The team turned. The machines followed, working perfectly now. The desert cooled slightly as they walked, and behind them, she stood alone, watching, breathing, protecting. Back in the ship, Kulbi looked at Yask. "Will we come back, sir?" Yask didn't answer at first. Then he said, "If we do, we bring something stronger than weapons." Kulb frowned. "Like what?" Yask's eyes narrowed. "Respect." The planet was quiet again, but only for a short time. Word had spread fast across stars and systems. 2 alien empires had come for the energy core and failed. They had spoken of a strange human woman who breathed like winter and made fire freeze. Most laughed at the reports. But not General Thrag. He was a warlord, a conqueror. His body was part flesh, part machine, with thick arms, glowing red veins, and a face that looked like cracked stone. His army was made of ice troopers, elite soldiers trained to fight inside frozen moons and sub-zero space mines. His weapons ran on frost energy. He didn't believe in mercy, he believed in control, and he was coming for the core. His ship entered, the desert like a falling star, a giant black triangle covered in frost armor. When it landed, the sand turned white. The heat vanished. A cloud of cold spread like poison. Thrag stepped out first. The ground cracked beneath his boots. He looked at the endless dunes and laughed. "This planet is hot," he said. "It will freeze under my feet." Behind him, hundreds of ice troopers marched. White armor, frost rifles, faces hidden behind frozen visors. The air around them steamed because the heat was fighting back. But they had brought something stronger this time. The ice cannons. Huge machines pulled behind tanks, powered by frozen cores. Each one could shoot a beam so cold it could freeze a volcano in seconds. Thrag looked at the sky. "Let's kill the sun," he said. The army marched toward the canyon. The sand hissed under their feet. The machines groaned, pushing forward through thick, angry wind. They reached the cliff. The energy core was still there, sleeping. Thrag smiled. "This time, we don't ask, we don't drill, we freeze it, and we take it." "Sir," one soldier said, scanning the area, "there's no life detected, but the air feels wrong." "Then your scanner is broken." He raised his fist. "Fire." The cannons. The order echoed through the air. The ice cannons locked into position. Gears turned. Cold light charged. The troopers aimed their weapons at the heart of the canyon. Then they fired. A blast of white beams shot down into the rocks. Lava hardened instantly. The energy core dimmed, coated in frost. The wind stopped, even the clouds froze in place. Thrag laughed. "It's over." But then, the temperature rose, fast. Too fast. The frost began to melt. The white light turned yellow, then red, then gold, and over the canyon edge, a bright light rose, the sun, but not just any sun, a second sun, hotter, brighter, and standing in front of it, she returned, the human woman, barefoot, unburned, eyes glowing like fire. She stood on the cliff, wind lifting her. Robe, her skin shimmered, and every step she took melted the ice around her. Thrag's smile faded. "No," he whispered. The troopers aimed their weapons, but their armor began to drip. Their frost rifles overheated. One exploded, another melted. Thrag shouted, "Hold formation!" But the heat was rising too fast. One cannon collapsed. Its frozen engine cracked, then burst into steam. The energy core pulsed beneath the melting rock. The sun above them grew even brighter. "She brought the sun too early," one soldier cried. "She is the sun," another said, dropping his weapon. She stepped forward down into the canyon toward them. No fear, no anger, only sorrow. "You've brought weapons of winter," she said softly. "But this planet was born in fire." Thrag aimed, a glowing sword at her. "You're no god." "I'm not," she said. "I'm a lesson." He rushed forward, fast, powerful, swinging the sword, but she only breathed, and the blade turned to steam. Thrag froze. His hand burned. He screamed, and the scream echoed across the desert. The troopers panicked. They ran, ice suits cracking, boots sinking into soft, boiling sand. The last ice cannon exploded behind them, sending a shock wave of hot wind that knocked their ship sideways. Thrag dropped to his knees. He looked up at her. "You could have killed me," he said, coughing. "Why didn't you?" She knelt beside him, touched the sand. The earth cooled, just a little, enough for him to breathe. "I don't enjoy pain," she whispered. "Even yours." "Who are you?" he asked. "I was born here," she replied. "But I left. When I returned, I listened." "To what?" he asked. She looked at the sky. The fire in the soil, the songs in the sand. "You can't stop everyone," he muttered. "Others will come." "I know," she said. "Why?" "Stay," she stood up. "Because the planet still breathes, and I breathe with it." The last thing he saw before blacking out was her face, calm and bright like dawn. Later, aboard his broken ship, Thrag sat in silence. His army was gone. His machines were ash. Only a few engineers survived. One of them asked, "Should we return?" "With bigger weapons?" Thrag stared out the window and said, "No." "Then, what do we tell High Command?" Thrag looked at the stars. "Tell them. The sun is alive on that world. And she's watching." The desert had scars now, melted tanks, frozen craters, burnt machine bones buried under sand. But still, the human stood, alone. She didn't sleep much. She didn't eat. She only watched the sky, waiting, because something else was coming. Something older than war. Far across the galaxy, in a cold, silent system, a species called the Valkorians sat in the dark. They had no eyes, no faces, no blood. They were shadows with sharp teeth and long claws, born in black holes, fed by fear. The Valkorians didn't use ships. They moved through void tunnels, rips in space that only creatures of shadow could pass through. They didn't want the energy core. They wanted the one who guarded it. They had watched her from the dark, and now they wanted to break her, one quiet night. The sky over the canyon cracked open. A black wound tore through the stars, and from it, the Valkorians fell. They had no voices, only hisses. They moved like smoke. 20 of them landed silently in the sand, then 50, then hundreds, each one different. Some had wings, some had 4 arms, some crawled like spiders, but all of them hated light. She felt them coming before she saw them. The ground shook slightly. The air grew heavy. The stars above her dimmed, as if the sky itself was afraid. She stood at the edge of the canyon, barefoot, calm. Her hair blew in the wind, and then she spoke softly. "I know you're here." The Valkorians didn't answer. They didn't speak. They simply charged, faster than bullets. One leaped at her from behind. Its claws reached for her neck, but just before it touched her skin, she glowed. A sudden blinding light burst from her chest. White, pure, warm. The shadow screamed as it hit the ground, shaking like a dying flame. She turned slowly, her voice steady. "You feed on fear, but I'm not afraid." The Valkorians surrounded her, dozens, then hundreds. They moved like one creature, twisting and shifting through the wind, creating towers of dark smoke that reached into the sky. She looked up at them and closed her eyes. "I see you," she whispered. Then she raised both hands, and light exploded. It didn't come from the sun. It came from inside her, like she had swallowed the sky. The canyon lit up, every rock, every grain of sand. The Valkorians screamed. Some turned to smoke, some burned and fled, but others fought harder. They changed shape, became larger, darker, faster. One wrapped around her, trying to choke out her light. She dropped to one knee. Her skin turned pale. The light dimmed. Across the desert, a Drazari scout ship picked up the energy spike. "Sir, she's fighting," the pilot said. "They've sent the Valkorians." "Those things only hunt legends," the captain whispered. "We should help." "No," he said, shaking his head. "We watch." Back in the canyon, the battle raged. Her feet burned in the sand. Her light flickered. The shadows pressed harder. They whispered through the wind now. You are alone. You are weak. You will fade. She dropped both hands, knees in the sand, eyes closed, and then she smiled. You forgot, she said. I was born in fire, and her body lit up again. But this time it wasn't a burst. It was a wave, a pulse. The light didn't blind. It healed. The canyon bloomed. Old rock turned to glass. Dead machines came back to life, and the Valkorians, once screaming, went silent. One by one, they vanished into smoke, and the wind said nothing. Only peace. She sat down now, exhausted, her skin warm, her breath slow. But she was alive, and the planet was safe, for now. On a nearby hill, a lone Valkorian remained, smaller than the others. It didn't attack. It simply watched her. She turned to it. You're still here. It hissed softly but didn't move. You don't have to vanish, she said gently. You can change. It tilted its head. I was once like you, lost in the dark, cold inside. The shadow blinked. If shadows could blink. Stay, she said. Learn. And it did not leave. It melted into the ground and became part of the soil, part of the planet. That night, the stars returned to the sky. The wind was warm, and the machines near the energy core hummed like they were singing. She lay on the canyon floor, looking at the moon, alone but no longer lonely, because even shadows now remembered her light. End of Part 5 to be continued. In Part 6, they brought a storm to crush her, but the wind changed sides. The canyon had been quiet for 3 days, no fire, no shadows, no war, just heat, sand, and the soft hum of the energy core sleeping below the rocks. She sat near the edge, eyes closed, listening. But peace never lasted long. Here, because power always called for power, and now something new was coming, not armies, not monsters, but a storm built by machines and hate. Across the sky, metal clouds moved in fast. They weren't natural, they weren't soft, they were shaped like fists, dark grey with blinking lights and long wires hanging like spider legs. The storm came from the Zanari hive, a machine race that had no leaders, no voices, only one mission: delete all threats to galactic order. They didn't care about the energy core. They only cared about her, because their scanners said she was impossible, and that meant she had to be destroyed. The sky turned black in the middle of the day. Thunder rolled across the desert. But it was not thunder, it was metal wings. Thousands of small drones buzzed out of the clouds, shaped like knives, each one sharp enough to slice a starship's hull. Behind them, giant walking towers dropped from above, shaking the sand. Each one carried a storm core, machines that made fake wind, fake rain, fake lightning. But it was not water that fell. It was acid, burning, melting. The machines wanted to break the land first, then break her. She stood and faced the wind. The air stung her face, but she didn't flinch. The sand spun around her feet, lifting in wild circles. She raised her hand and spoke softly. I don't fight storms, she said. I speak to them. One drone flew low, fast and deadly. It aimed at her neck. She didn't move, but the wind did. It changed direction in 1 second, snapping the drone into a nearby rock like a toy. The next drone tried to shoot a bolt of red energy, but the bolt turned around, reversed midair, and hit the drone itself. More drones came. 50, then 100, but the wind became wild, like it knew her, like it had been waiting. Far above, inside the hive's storm ship, the AI core watched. Subject resists gravity. Subject shifts wind patterns unnaturally. Subject violates physical law. The hive sent more machines, larger, stronger. They dropped a black cube from orbit, a weather crusher. It landed like a bomb, making the earth shake. It created a super tornado. It was meant to suck her into the sky and tear her apart, but the tornado spun once, twice, and then slowed, stopped, and turned the other way, back toward the machine. Towers, it ripped off their legs, snapped their arms, pulled drones into the clouds. The hive tried to fight it, but it was their own storm turning against them. She walked forward, into the wind, barefoot still, her robe snapped behind her like a flag. The wind whispered through her hair, not screaming, singing, because she wasn't alone, not anymore. The planet was with her. The storm was hers now. One hive walker aimed its cannon. She looked up at it. Fall. And the wind obeyed. It punched the walker's chest. The whole tower collapsed like paper. Another tried to flee, wings spinning, gears whining. She pointed at the sky. The wind rose upward and dragged it down. Hard. Dust exploded across the sand. Tabai. Sky cracked again. This time from above, a blue beam fell toward her, massive, wide, full of energy. It was the hive's final weapon. She couldn't outrun it, so she didn't try. She lifted her arms and welcomed the wind. It wrapped around her like armor, a spinning circle of force and air. When the beam hit, it didn't burn her. It broke apart, scattered, as if the wind shredded the light itself, and when the smoke cleared, she was still standing. The hive didn't understand. They couldn't. They sent one last message through the storm. You are not coded. You are not known. You must be removed. She replied with only one word. No. The storm ship began to spin. Its engines lost balance. The clouds it had created turned against it. Wind roared upward, lifting the massive machine into its own. Storm, spinning, tilting, breaking, then silence. A bright flash above, and the ship vanished. The storm died with it. The sky turned blue again. The wind softened, warm, peaceful. She sat back, down at the canyon edge. Her robe was torn. Her face was tired, but her eyes were calm. The energy core pulsed below, still safe. Somewhere far away, on a trade station, a message blinked on a control screen. Warning, subject still alive, storm class attack failed, threat level increased. But no one came. Not yet. And in the desert, the wind now carried her name. It whispered through the rocks, the sand, the sky. She had not just survived the storm, she had become part of it. The desert looked calm again. Blue sky, soft wind, hot sand, but under the ground, something moved, deep, silent, dangerous. She sat near the canyon's edge, quiet as always, eyes open, still barefoot. The energy core beneath the rocks was safe, for now. But she could feel it. The planet was nervous, like something was crawling beneath its skin. Far beneath her feet, deep in the stone layers, a new threat arrived. They were called the Tharnex, a mining species from a shattered moon. They had no eyes, only thick claws and metal teeth. They lived underground. They didn't speak with mouths. They spoke through vibrations in the dirt. To them, she was nothing, just a soft creature walking on their roof. They wanted the energy core, but instead of fighting above, they planned to dig below, to steal it from under her, to trap her inside the earth. The first sign came at night. The ground made a strange, low hum, then a crack, then silence again. She opened her eyes, looked at the ground, spoke one word. Trouble. Under. The canyon floor, machines drilled fast, giant spinning heads carved deep tunnels. The Tharnex moved behind them, wearing armored suits of stone and bone. They had maps, they had blueprints, and they had one goal. Crack the core, bury the human. The next day, she stood at the canyon center. She tapped her bare foot once on the ground, softly, listening. She heard them, not with ears, but with the bones in her feet. Hundreds, maybe thousands, coming closer, Faster. She spoke to the ground beneath her. "You're not alone. I'm still here." The earth was quiet, but it heard her. Suddenly, the sand near her exploded upward. A massive claw reached for her leg, fast as a striking snake. She stepped back just in time, but more cracks appeared. Then giant mouths opened in the ground. Teeth, made of stone, voices buzzing like angry drills. The Tharnex had arrived. One of them stood taller than the rest. It wore a helmet made of fossil rock. Its arms were drills. Its legs were hammers. It roared in its own language. The ground shook. Tunnels opened around her. They wanted to swallow her whole. She didn't run. She knelt and placed her palm on the dirt, whispered, "I'm not standing on you. I'm standing with you." For a second, nothing happened. The Tharnex charged, but then the ground answered. The earth rose beneath her feet, not with fire, not with lava, but with life. Stone pillars shot up around her, forming a circle. The Tharnex hit them and bounced off. She stood in the middle, calm. The desert was fighting for her now. Beneath her, ancient roots awakened, roots older than any species. They twisted through the rock and crushed the tunnels the Tharnex had built. One by one, the invaders were trapped in stone prisons. Some tried to climb out, but the canyon sides shifted, closed in, pushing them back. The Tharnex leader growled and slammed the ground. It called for the burrower. From deep below, something massive moved. Creature. Half machine, half flesh. Bigger than any tower. It had no eyes, just feelers, claws, and a mouth wide enough to swallow a ship. It crashed through the stone and rose into the canyon like a mountain of teeth. The Tharnex leader pointed at her. The burrower lunged. She didn't flinch. She walked forward. Each step caused the rocks to shake, not because she was heavy, but because the earth moved with her. The canyon floor cracked. Then it rose up, a huge stone wall between her and the beast. The burrower smashed into it, roaring. But the wall didn't break. Instead, it wrapped around the monster like hands and squeezed. The burrower howled once more, then collapsed into stone dust. The canyon floor swallowed the pieces. Gone. Now the Tharnex were trapped, their tunnels broken, their monster gone, and the ground beneath them refused to open again. She stepped to the canyon edge and looked down. "You didn't ask permission," she said. "You didn't respect this place." One by one, the Tharnex dropped their weapons, and the earth rumbled once more. But not in anger, in warning. The remaining miners were pulled into a deep pit, softly like sand sinking, and the canyon closed above them, not crushed, not killed, just buried far below, where they could do no harm. She sat again, wiped the dust from her hands, and for the first time in many days, the ground was still. The canyon felt peaceful, strong, safe. In space, a hidden probe recorded everything. It sent a message. She commands. Wind. Now, Earth. Organics must not have this power. Immediate action required. But no one answered, because even the watchers now wondered, what is she? She looked at the horizon. Storms had failed. Shadows had failed. Now tunnels had failed, too. She wasn't just defending the energy core, she was becoming part of it, and the planet knew her name. The sky was quiet. Too quiet. No storms, no machines, no screams, just stillness. She stood alone in the canyon where the energy core pulsed beneath the ground. The sand did not move. The wind had gone still. Even the birds in the sky had flown away. She looked up. Something was wrong. Silence meant something was coming. Then they appeared. Not from above, not from below, but from every direction at once. They stepped out of nowhere. Tall figures wrapped in dark. Silver armor, their faces hidden by glass. Their weapons were strange, smooth rods without triggers or blades. They made no sound when they moved, not even their footsteps. She turned slowly, surrounded, 20, then 50, then 100, all watching. Her, but saying nothing. They were called the Null Ascendancy, old, unknown, feared. They did not use sound, they used thought. And right now, every one of them had the same thought. This must end. They had watched her fight storms, survive fire, command wind, control earth. To them, that was too dangerous. No creature should bend nature. No human should live after breaking the laws of power. So they came, to erase her, to unwrite her story. One stepped forward. Its armor shimmered. It raised its hand but didn't point a weapon. Instead, it projected a memory, a perfect image, hovering in the air. It showed her walking barefoot, rising above fire, turning storms, crushing armies. Then it showed a new image, the galaxy in flames. Because of her, it wasn't truth, it was fear. They feared what she could become. She looked at the image, then back at them, and she said only one thing. I never attacked first. They didn't answer, but the sky began to flicker. They had brought more than soldiers. They had brought time breakers, machines that could freeze reality. They would not kill her with fire or blades. They would erase her like a mistake, unwrite her name, turn her to dust before she was ever born. The ground trembled, but not from fear. The canyon stood with her. The planet waited. The wind returned, but it didn't move yet. It waited too. Even the sun dimmed behind a strange black curtain in the sky. The whole universe seemed to hold its breath. She closed her eyes and listened. A soft voice rose, not from her but from the world itself. You stood for us. Now we stand for you. And then something changed, not outside her. Inside. Her chest grew warm, her breath slowed. Her body no longer felt separate from the earth. She was not just walking on the planet, she was now part of it. The energy core beneath. The rocks pulsed, once, twice, then rose through the canyon like light through veins. The Null soldiers stepped back. For the first time, they looked unsure. They aimed their thought weapons, but nothing happened. The time breakers glitched. The silence broke. A deep voice, older than stars, spoke from the sky. Not human, not machine. You tried to erase her, but she is already written in the stone, the wind, the fire. You are late. Light burst from the canyon floor, not fire, not heat. Life. Rocks turned to crystal. Sand floated in circles. And at the center, she stood, glowing softly, eyes open, calm, no fear. The Null fired their erasers. Time around her bent, but it didn't stop her. She walked through it like walking through water, untouched, unbothered. One by one, their weapons turned off, their armor cracked, their silence broke. They screamed without sound, because they realized something. She wasn't a threat to the galaxy. She was its protector. One final command came through the sky. The Null leader, far away, sent a thought. Fall back. She cannot be removed. And just like that, they vanished. All of them. No trace. No sound. Just the desert again. Just her. She stood in the canyon, alone, but never alone again, because the sky had seen her, the stars had watched her, the ground had protected her, and now, she was no longer just a woman. She was a memory, a guardian, a story told in wind and stone, a miracle that walked barefoot through war, and never raised a weapon. Some say she still walks, that if you listen close in silent deserts, you can hear her footsteps. Soft, steady, strong, the one who faced storms, the one who broke machines with her breath, the one who stood still and the universe moved around her.